Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. So sometime back I had a question wherein the person wanted to know whether by adding fertilizers the succulents are going to grow very large. Now guys, it completely depends upon the variety of succulent. Remember, not all succulents are going to grow large. There are some varieties. Every variety, there are certain succulents that will grow very large, especially in the genus of Echeveria. There are a lot of Echeverias that will tend to grow really large depending upon how much space they tend to get. So I would say it's not that it is completely dependent on fertilizers. It also depends upon your environmental conditions, the type of soil you have, the type of pot or the size of pot that you have. It all depends upon that. It's not that only by adding fertilizers your succulents are going to grow faster and bigger. Remember, a healthy succulent will grow slow. That is one of the indication that the succulent is healthy. Now, a lot of people do add fertilizers. It's absolutely okay. I mean, it's up to you if you want to add fertilizers, if you do not want to add fertilizers. I personally do not add fertilizers because I felt that it doesn't make any difference to them. It's been almost 7 years of not adding any fertilizers and my succulents have been doing quite well. So even if someone tends to convince me to add fertilizers, I wouldn't do that until and unless my succulents tend to ask me that they do need fertilizers, which I don't see them showing any signs of asking for any kind of fertilizers. Now, some people have asked me this before, that why are my succulents very small, because they have been seeing my succulents for a couple of years, and why are they still small? Now, this is a personal choice. I do not prefer to use larger pots over here. Like for example, I have used a bit of a larger pot. So you can see the size of the succulent has also increased. Now this is my personal choice. If I want, I can use larger pots, but I prefer my succulents to be small and compact. So that's why most of my pots are around 7 to 8 centimeter of depth. This is a little bit larger, but again, if you remember when I made this video, there is a little bit of leca at the base. So it's not like this entire pot is filled with soil. It's halfway through, and then there is my potting mix. But you can see, because the pot is a little bit bigger, the succulent size has also increased. Again, it's because this variety of Pachyphytum, I'm not very sure about the exact ID, but this type of succulent does grow big. So that's why the larger pot is complementing and the succulent is growing bigger. You can see they're still doing quite well. They're still of a good size. You can see this. They're of a good size, but I prefer to keep them in smaller pots. Even this pot is around 8 centimeter. This is 7 centimeter. But you can see without fertilizers as well, the succulents are very compact. They have that beautiful stress colors. They are growing very well. I don't see any kind of issues with the leaves, wherein the leaves are turning yellow or falling off, or the leaves are coming out deformed because they're not getting fertilizers. They are absolutely doing quite well. In fact, if you might have seen my last video, this one is putting out a pup without any fertilizers. This one has bloomed. You might have seen my last shorts video. I have cut off 2 of the blooms, and now you can see there is another bloom also starting to come up without fertilizers. The growth is also quite good. So it all depends. I'm not saying that using of fertilizers is wrong. You can use fertilizers, but you have to ensure that you're using it in a very less amount, not a very high amount. You do not want to have a very highly organic soil mix. It is going to be quite dangerous. For me, I completely gave up on fertilizers probably 7 or 8 years back. Initially when I started, I used to add fertilizers. Then there were some succulents that I did not add fertilizers, and I seen that both with or without fertilizers, the succulent absolutely looked similar. There was no issue at all. And so then I thought, why waste my money, resources and fertilizers on a plant that is going to do quite well without it? So I completely stopped, and ever since then I haven't been adding any fertilizers, and my plants are doing quite well. My plants tend to flower, my plants tend to put out pups without any fertilizers, and they've been doing quite well. My leaf propagations work really well. I do get a lot of pups from my succulents, all this without fertilizers. Again, at the end of the day, guys, it's your succulent. It's up to you. If you want to add fertilizers, you can, but ensure that it is a weak strength. Do not use a lot of it. Some people already have compost in their soil mix and then they add fertilizers. That is not right, guys, because you already have organic matter. We do not want to make the soil mix very organic rich, because that is going to damage the plant. If there is a high amount of organic matter, there will be a high activity of pests like mealybugs, aphids, or even mold in the soil. Apart from that, the succulent will also start to turn weaker because of excess amount of fertilizers in the soil. Always remember, where do succulents come from? What is their natural habitat? They do not have a lot of access towards nutrients, so that is what we have to replicate. In order to grow any plant, we have to try and replicate the kind of environment that they tend to grow in. Always remember, guys, whenever you are getting plants, like for example, succulents are not native to my country, so I have to replicate that kind of environment for them in order to grow. We cannot bring a plant, or we cannot have a plant that has a very different needs and try to force those needs onto the succulent. The succulent is not going to do quite well. I have seen people using very heavy soil, very clay soil for their succulents, or they tend to use a high amount of nitrogen for their succulents, not giving a good amount of light, not having a very gritty, loose soil mix. If these things are not being given, these are the basic needs that a plant needs, and if you're not going to give those basic needs to that plant, of course the plant is not going to do quite well. So that's all about it, guys. Again, at the end of the day, I say this is up to you, your succulent. If you want to add fertilizers, give a weak dose. Even if you forget, or even if you don't add fertilizers, you can see the example in front of you, the succulents will still do quite well. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.